In this video, we're going to discuss how to make the bracket for Chapter 11 Tutorial 1. To start this process off, I'm going to go ahead and draw this in the front view. So I'm going to click on my front plane and then click Sketch and go to Sketch View Orientation. Now I'm going to start this by drawing the bracket part of it, and then I'll go in and put in the circular part after that. So I'm going to start this one just by drawing my first two lines. That way I can get a reference for the actual size of the parts. So we'll draw the first line in over here, and then we'll come down. And I'm actually going to have to draw a little bit more than just those first two lines, because I want to make sure that I can get an overall dimension in here to kind of control everything else. So next I'll go in here and I'll place a dimension from this endpoint to this endpoint, and that dimension is going to be 950. The distance between the two lines in here is 375. Now, with everything being equal, this should be the majority of the information that I need to make this work. I got to remember that this is the inside, and then I'm going to have another line here that represents the outside. So my overall height is not a dimension that I can easily place just yet. So the next thing I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to draw, let me zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to draw the rest of this profile. So we're going to go with a line down from here, and it's going to come over, go down, over, and then back up, matching the length of the line on the left. This line right here is the one I want to match the length of. And then it's going to come over here and connect to the end. Next, I can go ahead and do a normal dimension for the overall height over here, which is going to be 238. And now I can begin dimensioning my thicknesses for everything else. So I know that my thickness for right here is going to be 30. I know that the distance between these two is also going to be 30. And the distance, basically all of my thickness dimensions are going to be 30. And once I have all of those established, then that should get rid of all of my weak dimensions and allow me to continue. So with all of that being said, I have no more weak dimensions. I've got all of my normal dimensions in. I can go ahead and finish this sketch, and now I can do the extrude command. So I'm going to go ahead and extrude, and my extrusion thickness is going to be 300. Once I have that set, I just simply say OK, and now I have the beginnings of my part. Now, if you look back at the picture on page 11-31, you can see that that circular part has a hole in the bottom of it, but it's also got the two circular pieces that come out. So we need to first click on this face and do a new sketch. And I do want to do some projection here. I want to project this left line in and this top line in, and then I'm going to use delete segments to get rid of them. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my two circles sharing the same center point. I can now go ahead and apply vertical and horizontal constraints to this, or I can dimension it. So let's go ahead and do the dimensioning option, and the total width of this is 300, so this will be centered at 150, and the distance across here is 375. So half of 375, or I can just type 375 divided by 2, which will put that in there for me as well. My diameters, I have a diameter of 225 on the larger circle and a diameter of 175 on the smaller circle. Once I have those two dimensions in place, I can go ahead and select OK, and now I can extrude this, its height, which is going to be 140. And we'll go ahead and hit the checkbox for that. Next, I'm going to place the hole coming through the backside, and I'm going to use this axis from the previous feature that I created to do a centered hole. So I'm going to click on hole, and I'm going to left click this face and then hit Control and select this axis to locate the hole. This hole goes through all and has a diameter of 75. Once I have that set up and verify that it looks correct, I can go ahead and hit my checkbox. Now, as far as the fillets are concerned, all of my outside corners are going to be rounded off at a radius of 50, and all of my inside corners are going to be rounded off at a radius of 20. So I'm going to go ahead to the round command, and we're going to start with the 50s, and that's going to be this edge, this edge, this edge, and this back edge over here. I can go ahead and accept that and go back into the round command and set up to do my 20s. And that's going to be this inside edge, this inside corner, this corner, and this corner. And once I have all of those in place, I've got everything done except now the two holes that are going to be on the top of this object. So to create those holes, I'm just going to go to the hole command, and I'm going to select this face. For placement, I'm going to pick two offset references, which will be the left edge, and I'm going to hit Control and do the bottom edge as well. So the distance from the bottom, again, is going to be 150 because it's centered. The distance, and I just accidentally unselected one of my reference edges, so let's just make sure that that's correct. Double click this one here, and this is going to be 120 in from the edge. This hole does go through all, and it has a diameter of 50. So I've got all the settings set for this hole, so I can go ahead and say OK. And now I can either place a second hole over here, or I can use the pattern tool and do a directional pattern based on this vector. I need to flip its direction, make sure it's going the other way. And the distance between those two holes is 710. And then I can just go ahead and accept that. And this is the completed bracket for Chapter 11 Tutorial 1.